So our next speaker, Jayesh Sharma, for his talk, Lessons from the Trenches, Building Rube. Mic over to him.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for showing up. I'm really excited about this talk here. But before I begin, I just want to get a hang of how the crowd is like. And I'll just ask you a few questions to understand you a bit better. How many of you have used MCP servers in the past or are familiar with MCP? Wow, a whole bunch of you. Like, this is like, what kind of servers do you use? Like, what clients do you use the most? Like, what's the most favorite client that you must have used? Cloud Code. What else? Olama. Okay, cool. Nice. I was expecting Cursor, but like, surprising that people don't use Cursor as a client. That's nice. Yeah, okay, cool. So I think what I'll do through this talk is I'll walk you through why we built something called Rube. It's more like a universal MCP server. I think that's easier to understand. And I'll walk you through my perspective of why we thought something like Rube should exist in this world. And then once I've established that, I'll walk you through what are the lessons we learned while building this. Because we like also ran into a bunch of issues around context windows, various other problems as well. So we'll walk you through it. I'm Jayesh. You can find me at WJayesh in most places. I'm most active on Twitter. And I work as an AI engineer and multiple things at Composio. We do a bunch of things. So I'll start with the challenges with the current MCP servers. So I think personally, like, how many of you have used MCP servers in the past? Like, how many of you actively use MCP servers? Like you. So okay, look at the stark contrast. Like when I asked about MCP, almost everybody knows about it, but the amount of people who use is like a couple, or maybe like 4 people here. What's the MCP server that you use? Superbase. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, I think like now, like, why do you think there is a discrepancy between the number of people who know about MCP servers and the people who actually use it daily? Like, do you know what the reason is? Like, anybody without looking at the slides, of course. They don't work. Okay, that's like, that's a separate problem altogether. But I think, like, for me personally, the problem that I faced was I need to, like, when I want to use a specific app, I need to install the server for that app. Let's say I want to use Linear or let's say GitHub, whatever. I need to go find that server, install it, and then authorize whatever, give it my API key, and then it becomes active. And let's say if I, in the course of time, I want to use like 5 more MCP servers, then I install those servers as well. And then you can't really have multiple MCP servers in the same client. So let's say if you have like 7 active, 10 active servers, then it like really bloats the whole context up. So that for me personally, that was the reason I didn't use MCPs at all. I thought like, why go through the whole hassle of going to like configure each and every server? So like chances with the current MCP server is just that. Like I need manual installation of all servers. There are too many servers bloat the client. And let's say if you have many tools in your context window, it also bloats the context window size. So like you can't really have too many tool executions happening in the same thing. And authorization is painful, of course. So let's say some MCP servers just use API keys. Very simple. Put the API key works like environment variables. But some other MCP servers require OAuth authorization. So you need to like go allow, give scopes and all of that things. And you have to manage the tokens yourself also sometimes. So authorization is also very painful. So for these reasons, I feel like this is why discrepancy exists. People don't use MCP servers. And that was one of the reasons why I thought we should do something about it. So what we need is this. I want like some solution where I can just get a very simplified solution where I just have one MCP server, ideally, which can figure out what tools to select and when to do it, right? That is what I want, smart selection of tools. I also want like large context management because I've seen that, as I said, like we discussed right now, that once you have a bunch of tools, the context window explodes and like you can't really have a lot of conversation. I think people using Cloud Code, I think we just talked about a lot of people use Cloud Code here as MCP client. You must have seen that Cloud Codes, like after a few conversations, it says, okay, it complains about the context size when you use a lot of MCP servers there. So that's a huge problem as well, right? So I want something which can handle large context. I want something which can select the right MCP servers at the right time without me having to manually go install them. I want fast execution because I feel that, okay, like it must be smart enough to know when to execute what tool, how to parallelize stuff and all these things. So this is just my wish list here. So it's not really something super important. I think the first 2 points are very important because I want that to happen. Everything else is just like an added bonus. So what if it has caching in memory also? Let's say I do something, I execute a tool somehow, it finds some ID from somewhere, and then it stores it, it knows what my ID is and whatever, and in the future executions, it just figures out by itself. Right? So I want these kind of things. I want handling of complex queries. I can just give it whatever I want, and it should be able to handle that. So all of this is why we've started to build something called Rube. I'll get to Rube towards the end. But what I'll do right now is I'll ask if you have any questions so far about what we are discussing, what we are trying to build. And then we'll move on to the lessons that I learned from whatever we did here. Any questions so far? People clear on the server, client, why there is a need for something like this? All good? Perfect. So now I'll move on to the lessons. So lessons from building these features. Uh, I think one of the things we talked about was the large context window. So the way we solved it, I'll just quickly give you some tips. If you need more information, come to our booth. We'll like have a detailed technical discussion after that. But what we did was like when we, for example, we have this Gmail. Gmail is our top used app in Composio. So Composio provides managed toolkits for AI agents. We give you like tools which we write ourselves and manage execution for. And what happens is like Gmail is one of the top used apps. And there's a fetch emails action. By action, I just mean a function where you can like fetch all of your emails. And usually the responses are very huge. Like you get like 1,000, like 100 responses, 100 number of emails. So now what happens in that way is that your context will get bloated with all this huge context. So what we do instead in Rube is that we write it to some machine somewhere, like a protected sandbox. We write to a temporary sandbox all of your tool responses, which are very huge. And then the LLM can perform actions like grep, JQ, whatever, on that data to analyze the data. So instead of putting the whole data into the context of the LLM, you write it to a file somewhere. You tell the LLM, that, okay, this file exists in this machine. You can use these commands to interact with the file. And then the LLM can decide smartly how to interact with the data, what data to extract. So that way you get over the limitation of large context sizes. That is one of the problems we solved. I think we have also a bunch of optimizations here, which I'll talk about later on at the booth. But overall, this is how we solve the large context problem. The second thing we talked about was like how to make it fast, right? Let's say if you have a bunch of things to do. For example, if I have a very complex query, I'll show you some queries. I'll ask for some queries from the crowd right now in a while. But let's say my query is like look at all of my linear issues and then create GitHub issues on top of that and then add comments, whatever. Like if I give a long ass task, then it would need to plan and execute things, and it will take a lot of time if it does everything sequentially, right? So it needs to be smart enough to figure out, okay, instead of just executing one by one, okay, I'll call tool this, I'll call tool that. That's how traditional MCPs work. What we do is instead we have a tool which is called multi-execute internally, and what it does is figures out, okay, what tools can be called in parallel. So I can say, okay, if I need to list linear IDs for a given user, I can do that in parallel with list Gmail, for example. Like whatever commands it figures out that can be done independently and parallelly are done parallelly, and then execution happens sequentially. So that way it's way faster than executing every tool one by one. So you get this out of the box. So whatever tools we support, like Rube supports all MCP servers internally, I'll come to that in a while. But we make sure that the tool execution that can happen in parallel. That's the idea. So that's what makes it a bit faster. Any questions so far? Yeah, go on. Yeah, like it knows dependencies of different tools. So Composio is built on Composio's platform. So Composio's platform has all the tools that it needs, and we have dependency graphs internally. We know what tool depends on what other tool. So that way we figure out. Like, that's why like I think it's built on. It's a customer of Composio platform in a way, Rube. But we'll come to that in a while as well. Cool. I think the other thing that I was talking about is memory. I said like memory also adds a lot of value. It also enhances the experience. For example, like if I talk about let's say we'll come back to the linear issues thing. Let's say if I ask about my linear issues, we'll first look at my linear ID and then list my issues based on the ID. The second time I ask it, it should remember what my ID is and not have to like search again for my ID the whole process, right? That is the idea. So memory helps, and I think what we do is we figure out what the important memory is. So I told you there's a multi-execute tool, right? This tool is like which executes multiple actions together. LLM decides what memory to store. We have memory layer which stores in the vector DB. And then ultimately, when you search for tools, I'll show you how it works in a demo, so it'll become clear very well like how Rube does all of these things. But on a very high level, Rube has these two tools, which is like a search tool and a multi-execute tool. The search tool will tell you what tools to call for a given use case. So when I ask Rube to do something, which I'll show you in a while, the Rube will figure out, okay, for this given use case, I need to call these tools. And along with those responses, I'll also get the memory back. Okay, for these tools, you have this memory already enabled from the past interactions. So that's how the memory works. So we have very simple memory layer abstraction. We'll continue to work on that. I think in the future, we'll add more stuff, but I think this is what it is right now. And the other thing is handling complex user queries, right? So I want it to be more than just a bunch of tool calls. Let's say if I want some action to be done, usually it involves more than just like a API call. It revolves around some manual processing to be done. For example, if you look at the example here, I said count the number of meetings I took this week and compare it to the last week, figure out how many were with Jayesh, for example. Right? That is the query I asked. So this can't be just done by simple Gmail API calls or calendar API calls. I need to call something, then I need to process something. Like I need to get the results back. Some processing will happen, it'll count the number of meetings, and it'll see, okay, what is the attendee, so what is the participants list of a given meeting, and then is Jayesh there or not? So there are multiple things that need to happen in a bunch of things. And what Rube does is it combines the API calls with code execution. So remember I talked about the sandbox earlier, like where we store all the files which are huge. We also use that sandbox for executing code as well in a remote environment. So what happens is Rube can figure out what code to write based on the API calls. It then executes those code, and then what happens is after that it'll figure out and give it a response back. So that's how it works. So that's how we handle very complex queries as well. That's the whole idea around it. Okay, I just realized I also don't really have a thank you slide, unfortunately. So what I'll do is I'll quickly show you how I'll add that with Rube. So let me go back 1 second. So I'll come to what is Rube and why why we built Rube. But before that, I'll quickly show you a demo because I think it'll make things a bit clearer on how Rube works. So okay, let me zoom in. Is this visible? All good? Okay, 1 second. Oh, sorry. That didn't work. But I think if it's visible, I'll just go ahead. I don't want to take up some time here. Let's see, cursor dark, light. Yeah, perfect. All right, so now I'll get back here. So like I have an MCP server called Rube. I like to call it Rubert, Ruberto, whatever, because cursor has caching, so I need to change the names every once in a while. So for me, it's Ruberto right now that I'm going to demo you. So I'll ask it something like, okay, I want to add a thank you slide to my presentation called Lessons from the Trenches, Building Rube. Do that for me. It's like I added this, like Lessons from the Trenches, Building, okay, I have to edit this to Rube. And I'll press enter, right? So now what will happen is like, this is all the prompt I gave. Like, there's only one MCP server here. And it'll now figure out like what tool to call based on this given query, right? So okay, 1 second. Let me check. Yeah, cursor now figures out it needs to create a directory for me. I'll just do this. So like sometimes it doesn't really pick up that it has to use MCP server, it just do something else, but it's fine. So what happens is now Rube calls Rube search tools. Now this is a function which figures out what specific action to call for a given prompt. So you can see that it already has, it has Google Sites available. So if I show you the output of this tool, it will say what functions to call. So the input is, okay, I need to add a slide, some known fields, and then the result is what functions to call. So all of these functions are actions on Composio's platform. So Composio gives you access to 600 plus apps, so like Google, Gmail, Linear, all the apps that you use usually, and it has built tools for all of these apps for you automatically. So all Rube does is it tells, okay, what Composio actions to execute here. And then it will execute those actions going forward. So it found the tool, yes, and then it found managed connection. It says, okay, I don't have Google Drive authorized because I need to find the presentation from Google Drive. So it just gives you a link very well, and it waits for the connection to be active. So all I do is I click this, authorize Google Drive, I open this here. This will open my account. I'll just choose this to allow Composio to access my Google Drive. And that's only done once. So once I authorize Google Drive, Rube will remember my Google Drive going forward, and it won't ask me to do that anymore. So authentication is successful. I can go back to my thing. It becomes active now. It already says Google Drive is now connected. So that's how simple it is. So I don't have to go around like work with API keys, find access tokens, and that. I just like click a link. And now it already found a presentation. It says I found my presentation. So it probably called something. It did something. I don't even have to worry about any of that. So it just says it called the Google Drive find file function, and it said name contains this thing. That's all it did, and it found my presentation. It's already added a thank you slide to the end. So I think we'll keep it for later. When we go back to my slides, you'll find a thank you which Rube made. Right? So that's how simple it is. Like I didn't really care about it. It already had my slides connection, so I didn't have to authorize slides before that. But I didn't have Google Drive, so it did Google Drive connection by itself. So that's how simple it is, right? And that's how it works. So this was very simple. It didn't really use any code workbench because it's not a very complex query. But I would encourage you to come up with a query, come to our booth, give us the toughest queries you can think of, and we'll see if Rube can solve that for you, right? I think it'll be a very fun challenge to do. And if time permits, I'll also do it here later on. But we'll go back to the slides for a while. We'll just complete whatever we have there, take a few questions, and then I think we can come back and play around with Rube a bit. It's my favorite pastime to do that. Like I just try giving it some challenges. It can also do browser control. It can do Spotify, a lot of other things. Like in a way, not right now, but yeah. Cool. Okay, so Rube is a newest MC server. The only F service you need. So this is a QR code. You can scan this to take you straight to Rube's. The installation is very simple. You just click a button. It installs in your cursor, Cloud Code, for the Cloud Core folks here and everything else as well. So just Rube.app is what it's called. And yeah, why Rube? Like because it handles authentication as we saw already. It knows how to talk to what tool, call what tool when. I only have to install one MCP server. That's it, plain and simple. There's no management on your part as well. So that's it. I think that's for the demo. Like, how much time do I have? Okay, so I have like 5 more minutes. Okay, cool, perfect. So now I think what we can do is really play around with Rube a bit more. So that's nice. So yeah, any questions so far though? Any questions so far on like whatever I showed you? Yeah, go on.
What are you taking on data privacy? Because you're computing on your platform, right?
Yes.
So what about the privacy?
Yeah, we SOC 2 compliant. So like whatever data you have, like we encrypt everything on our backend. So like ultimately this is built on Composer platform. So like Rube is just a consumer of Composer platform, and we already have a lot of enterprise clients on the platform itself. And whatever we handle on the platform is completely secure. So we don't really store any of your data. Nothing is visible to anybody, even internally in the company as well. So you encrypt everything in there as well. So I think Rube just uses that platform. So it doesn't really build data by itself. It just uses Composer. It tells, okay, I need to execute this Composer action, executes on the Composer's platform, and then gets the result back. So that's why like we're pretty secure in that fashion. And we'll also add more stuff going to Rube. I think it's been only like recently we launched Rube, and we're working on making it more secure for enterprises going forward. But right now it's a consumer app for people to try out, play, and see if it works well. That's the idea. You go on.
Can we extend Rube with our MCP servers as well?
Rube extend. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, that's the thing which is coming pretty soon. So I think by the end of next week we'll have an MCP registry, where the idea is that any MCP server on the web, let's say if there's a GitHub repo or if a Docker exists, you can just add it to the registry yourself, and Rube will be able to access it. So like we can integrate n number of repos, like whatever repo you want with Rube. So that'll be a feature coming soon. Anything else? Oh, yeah, go on.
How do you do third-party authentication with for like my customers, right? So
Yeah.
here you click the link,
Yes.
and that created a token for Google Drive that's stored in somewhere.
Composium, yes.
How do I do that for my customers?
Oh yeah, like I think we have this thing I'll show you. So on the platform side, so right now what happens is Rube is a customer of the platform. And what you will do in your case, you will become a customer as well. So what you'll do is maybe I'll show you the dashboard. I think it will be much clearer there that way. So if I go to the Composer platform, or not here, I'll go here maybe. Yeah, I'll show you. So ultimately the short answer is that you will create an auth config. You'll create a config for a given app. Let's say if you want to authorize Gmail for your customers, what you will do is you'll come into the Composer platform. You'll create an auth config for Gmail, which will have, let's say, your client ID, client secret, because you have a developer app, for example, let's say. You add your developer app to Composer, and then what users can do, users can connect your accounts for that developer app. So I'll show you the flow in a very short while. But the idea is that Rube itself, it can't really directly support that multi-level of authorization, but Rube itself is also a product, as I said. So you can deploy it internally in your own organizations. I think we're working on that right now, working with a few customers to deploy Rube internally to their platform. And I think if you need more details, we'll come to the booth. Like we'll discuss in more technical details how it works. But like for now, I'll just quickly show you. Like this is the Composer platform, and what you have is a bunch of toolkits. So you can go to all toolkits. So the name is platform.composer.dev. That's what we usually is. And you can come here. You can say, okay, these are all the toolkits you have access to, a whole bunch of them. And like you can have auth config. So let's say if I want to have Gmail, if I want to expose Gmail to my customers, I can just add to my project and create an auth config. And I can choose what scopes to add here. So like maybe I won't allow my customers to write to Gmail, only read from Gmail, for example. I can create the auth config, and then I can like, connect accounts based on that. So auth is connected. Now I can connect an account here. And this will open the whole flow. I need to this is where you can add your user ID. For example, n number of users, every user will get its own user ID. So Jayesh, whatever, n number of your own user ID, for example. And then you connect. And you can use this from the SDK. So we expose all these functions to the SDK as well. So you can integrate this with your own solutions. And then this is what the user will see, ultimately. That you can also white label it. You can also add your own name here instead of Composer or whatever. So that's how the flow works. And this Rube just uses it internally in the backend. But yeah. Anything else? Yeah, go on.
The toolkits which you have here are integrating with various applications,
Yes.
right? So were the toolkits made as a part of Rube, or are you getting them from the applications you're integrating with?
Oh yeah, like I think the toolkits are a part of Composer's platform already. So Rube was built after this. So the reason we could build Rube was because we already had a whole catalog of 600 plus apps that we could build on top of. So internally we have like now an automated pipeline. I think that'll be a point of some other talk someday. But we have like a internal pipeline where if you just give an app name to integrate with, we have a bunch of agents which actually go to the website, sign up for that app, create credentials, and then create the whole app, test it, and then create a PR out of it. So we generate all these apps ourselves, like the integration code that we write for it. Let's say for Gmail, we have our own Gmail app internally, which is the integration. So you have 600 plus integrations we built already. And there are customers who use the platform in turn already, like not just Rube. Rube is a consumer product which we built just right now because we felt the need of having an MCP server like that. But the tools already existed before that. So if you want to use the tools directly, you can also do it through the platform, through the SDK, TS SDK, Python SDK. And Rube is just built on top of that.
So if I want, say I have an application which I want someone to use Rube with via the Composio platform, I would need to expose a set of actions that you can do on my platform. So is there a standard for that, or is that just manually done?
Oh, like you wanna select what actions can a person execute, right? Exactly. Yeah, you can do that for sure. Like you can choose what scope. As I said, you can choose scopes. Like when I was creating the auth config, say I can choose what scopes are allowed, and based on the scopes, you can choose what actions are allowed as well. What tools to include in the server or not, for example. So you can choose like, okay, for a given MC server, I only have write tools. I only have like a bunch of tools, or maybe only the list tools. I can only add those things. So you can very well manually configure what tools or what scopes go into your end product.
And say something new, say a new feature comes in Gmail. Say there's a new scope or a new set of features. What's like the lead time between that being released in Gmail itself versus it being available on Composio?
Yeah, pretty fast, I think. Depends on how many users ask us based on the priority. That's the bit question altogether.
Okay, got it, thanks.
But yeah, anything else? I will just go for, go on.
Can we integrate different IDPs in, like if I say I'm using Composio?
Yes.
And in the enterprise we are using Okta.
Yeah.
So can we use our different IDP, to connect with these?
100%.
And following to that question is there any control for RBACs in that I want some of the, let's say users to just have the right access, then some users to have the right access or not?
Yes, I think to answer your first question, yes, this is definitely possible. We do that with a lot of our corporate clients also. We choose their IDP, whatever they are using right now. But for the second question, I think we don't really have Composio level RBAC right now. Maybe like it might be in the works. I'm not super sure on that front. Like I'm not really working on the platform. I think Srujan will be on the booth. I think we should go talk to Srujan. He'll tell you exactly how it works. But like there is possibility like there's RBAC at some level because on the app itself you can configure what scopes are allowed. But if you're talking about the whole platform level RBAC, I'm not super sure like what the status is right now. But I think like you can control for what app, what users can use what actions. That's something you can definitely do. And the IDP stuff is also possible. We do that with a lot of customers already, I think. Yeah, perfect.
I have
Yeah.
another question.
Yeah, go on.
So we are handling a lot of credit cards data.
Yes. Okay.
Is Composio SOX compliant or
Yeah. We are SOC 2 compliant.
SOX compliant? Can we handle the PCI data also apart from PII data?
I'm not sure if SOX compliant. Like I'm not super clear on that, to be honest. I think we'll have a chat at the booth later on. But we do have a lot of corporate clients which are very strict on the data requirements, and we work with them already. So I'm pretty sure that's also there, but I'm not completely sure, so I can't give you a wrong answer. So I think we'll talk about the compliances like when you come to the booth. I think we'll be happy to do it. Yeah, go on.
How do you compare this with MCP gateway?
With an MCP gateway, I think it's in essence it's similar. Like MCP gateway also does the same thing, but I think this is more efficient. This is way faster. And it can do things across a bunch of different apps without having to, because it's not really MCP servers, essentially it's just calling Composio's tools in the backend, as you've seen. And we also have additional things like context management and memory, other stuff as well built on top of it. So it's a much better user experience than having like a gateway or something else. But I think like we'll keep the questions going, but I think I'll just ask for a use case from a user if he's already have some time. So give me a use case which you want to execute. Like what do you usually do?
One last question.
Yeah.
On the Furnier side, can you show me that thank you slide which you added in
Oh yeah, actually, yeah, let's just go to the, thank you so much. I completely forgot about that, man. Let's go. Yeah, so let's see. Oh wow, nothing here. Oh yeah, there is a thank you slide, but it did it in like freaking black. But yeah, that's something I have to worry about. Like that's my LLM, not the server, unfortunately. Thank you, yeah, exactly. It's been a great journey. Thank you for being part of it. I mean, yeah, like it works, but like you have to tell it what to write exactly. Like it did its best, man. Like come on. It also had like something here. I'm not sure what it was. Oh, thank you. Perfect. Yeah. It built it in a way. You have to like scratch it, like a scratch card to figure out what's going on. But yeah, I think like we'll keep the questions rolling until we have time. But like right now, let's go back to this. Let's play around with it. Like anybody has anything to give me, like whatever, across any app, like Linear, GitHub, whatever. Let's just think of a use case. Let's see what Rube does. Okay. Yeah, go on. Okay, go on.
Say that you have a PR
Okay.
on some repo,
ठीक है.
and you want to make a comment on it, but you
Cool.
want the comment to explain sort of using the LLM
Hmm.
what the problem is in that PR.
Okay, I think we can do that. Let's try it out. So what I'll do is, let me say, okay, cool. I have a GitHub PR called, oh sorry, yeah, my bad. I have a GitHub repository called Composio, and just find the latest PR on it, and comment what the problem is which the PR is trying to solve. So I want like a detailed analysis of whatever the PR does and add it as a comment to that PR.
Can you do a specific line?
Can you do a specific line? Yeah, I can. Like a specific comment.
A line on the code of the PR.
Oh, let's try that. Actually, I never done myself. And make this comment on a specific line in any file of your choosing. I just want to see if you can do that. Cool. I mean, like now this will. Okay, connection failed. You know what I mean? Okay, let's try. So I think like everything is built on top of the tools that we have. So we have like around 800 tools for GitHub. So I'm pretty sure like it'll be able to do some granular stuff there as well. But I think the shine, like the real value of Rube comes in when you have like cross app execution stuff. So I think that I was giving a last talk at HackerRank earlier, and there's one of the users told me, okay, I wanna look at my linear team, find all the people there, create GitHub issues based on their names in some other repo, and then create a repo. So it was like basically cross application stuff with large context. For example, if you come to the booth, we'll show you demos around, let's say, look at all of my emails, like all of the emails I have in my Gmail, and label them based on reasonable categories. So then it reads 10,000 emails and goes to 10,000 emails and then labels them in the right category. And all of that is pretty quick as well. It doesn't take like forever to do that. So it can handle large context, cross-application stuff. So I would encourage you to do it. Like if you do something cool, tag Composio on Twitter with whatever use case is, make a video on top of it. I'll be happy to share, happy to like feature, give you some extra swag if it's really cool. Because I want to push the boundaries of what Rube can do. And we are also continuously improving it. So that's why we added memory, we added other things as well, because we want to push it to become like a very nice user experience, which is why I want people to try it out, like make it fail. Like the more you make it fail, the happier I'll be. So that's why I'm trying this use case out as well. Like, let's see how it does. So let's see how it goes. So it finds search tools, yeah, it found GitHub, whatever. It's creating a plan. So for harder tasks, it creates a plan first. Okay, I need to do this, then that, then this and that. So it stays on course. And then it already found the latest pull request in the Composer repository, I think. Yeah, whatever. So I think it got, now at this point it's calling get a pull request. So I think it's get the pull request. And now it's analyzing the PR and completing a comprehensive review comment. So it's got to that point already. So it already got the files changed in the PR because it needs to understand what's going on. So it fetched the files in the PR which had diffs. And it read those files already. It knows how it's going on. It's analyzing it. It's analyzing the PR to get a comprehensive review. And it's already done that. Like based on analysis, this is about updating documentation to introduce a new connect link feature for authentication. So we just added this new feature. I think I made the release like an hour back at the booth. So it already found that PR. It knows what the PR is about because it read the files. And now it'll create an analysis based on it. I'm not sure what's doing it right now. Maybe the internet is a bit weak right now. I'm not super sure. Yeah, but it's doing it. Hold on. Maybe I'll try again. Oh yeah, there you go. So now it's calling the remote workbench, as I said, because it's a more complex query. It needs to perform a bunch of actions. So that's why it'll call the remote workbench. It writes its own code. So this is the code it wants to execute, analyze the PR to understand what problem it's solving, and then there's a whole bunch of code, right? It wrote this code by itself to figure out what's going on, and it'll run this code in the remote workbench to figure out something. So perfect. It already did that. So whenever you have a very complex use query, it calls the APIs, it goes to the code bench, it writes its own code, figures things out, and gives you this, all that. So it already found it. Insane. Let's go. Let's see. Okay. I need to ask for confirmation before posting the comment, as this will be public and visible on the PR. Let me show you what I've done. PR and analysis summary. This is the problem which PR solves. So you can see the whole thing. That's actually pretty accurate. Like this is what I did the last thing. Solution was this. Key changes were this. What is the new method? What is the dual approach? So imagine you can just integrate with your PR. So you never have to write PR description anymore. You just ask Rube, okay, find my latest PR, which I wrote like last day, and add a PR description to it, and do that for sure. So that's how powerful it is. Like across n number of apps and whatever you want to do, man. So key changes, development, proposed line comment is this line is whatever. So yeah, XYZ. Go on, let's go. Yeah, cool. So yeah, like I'm happy, man. Come on, give me more. But yeah, let's see. But yeah, I think once it's done, I already have we have more time already. So I think let's just see what it does, and I think If you want some more fun, let's head over to the booth or like install Rube yourself. Give it a shot, and I would love to see some videos on Twitter for sure. Go on. Yeah, I think right now it will show you like it's only 9.8%, which is pretty low compared to the stuff it has done already. So I think it's already done that. Let's quickly see this before we. Okay, it add to line 81. I just. Oh, okay. I thought they cut my now. Yeah, so there you go. That's what you wanted exactly, right? Like go to some line command. Excellent authentication. That's how it goes. Like exactly insane. Cool. That's my time. Composio, come out to the booth. Let's try some fun things out. Happy to help. Thank you so much, guys, for coming.